Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and address it as you can see from the title of this video, but your house is a liability. Yes, I said it, and I am a real estate agent. For this to be true, we're also going to assume that you took out a loan to purchase your home. And now before you go and get mad at your real estate agent saying, you told me my home was going to be an investment for my future, they're not wrong. Let me explain. So to fully understand this concept, we have to first define four things. What is an asset, what is a liability, and what is good debt and bad debt. First, an asset. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. Very simple. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Good debt is using a loan to buy something that will make a good return on investment. Examples are a mortgage, a business loan, or an education loan. Bad debt is debt that cannot be recovered. Examples of that are credit cards, personal loans, and in many cases, cars. So, let's get back to the subject of your home being a liability. Based on our previous definition of what an asset is, your home is not putting money back into your pocket. You're actually spending money every month on mortgages, taxes, and insurance. This does not mean that a home cannot be an asset. It just isn't in its current form. Technically, it would show in the asset column of your net worth. However, for most of us, it involves a massive loan in our debt column for liabilities. So even though your net worth does go up, you also have that loan offsetting that amount in the liability column. The thought of a home being a liability is a controversial opinion, I know, but it holds true from the school of thought on cash flow from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is because it's not making you money, it is a liability. But Tim, isn't my house appreciating? Yes, and on average, since 1987, the U.S. home price has gone up by 4.8% annually. Is that money going back into your pocket where it's accessible and you can reinvest? Probably not. So with that in mind, a home that you live in is most likely a liability, and it will continue to be until you either sell the home and take the equity from the sale, or you begin renting it out and start building a cash flow. Even though it's a liability from the definition of what an asset is, it's also seen as good debt or a good liability, because generally you do see that return on investment when you either sell that property or begin renting it out. So, now that you may feel like a realtor has convinced you not to buy a house, let's see why it actually makes sense to buy a home, especially if your plan is to live in it and build a rental portfolio, making the other houses that you buy into assets. The most popular reason you're going to hear from most everyone for why they invest in real estate is equity, equity, equity. You build that equity in your home over time by paying off your mortgage, and equity is what's left over after taking the value of your home minus how much you owe on the house, aka the mortgage. Equity is an amazing way to build wealth over time in a house and can be one of the most powerful tools when you're trying to expand a real estate portfolio, if you know how to use it. But to me, the best way to get into real estate investing, especially if you're a beginner, is to first go buy a home, live in it, and then you convert it into a rental property when you're financially capable. There's two big reasons for this. The first is as a primary residence, you can put as little as 0 to 5% down on the property, and you get a primary interest rate on the property, not an investor rate. Typically, investor rates are 0.5% to 1% higher than what a homeowner interest rate would be for a house. And I don't think I have to really explain that one to you guys because there's many people out there sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy a house just because they want the interest rates to drop about 0.5%, which is understandable. The other reason is this is a really good way if you're trying to continue to invest, is that it's the lowest possible cost of entry, because as an investor, to buy a house, you're typically going to need a minimum of 15, if not 20% down on the house. So if you're buying an average price house in the US, which would be around 400,000, you would need a minimum of $80,000 to qualify for that loan. So if you decide to buy a house and live in it, but with the intention of renting it down the road, you can make a profit when you turn your home into an investment property, which would be making that liability now an asset. Debt can be very tricky and dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So should you completely avoid debt? I think it all depends on your personal discipline and current financial situation. It all depends on if you're taking on good debt or bad debt as well. If you have your personal budget figured out and you stick to it, you'll be able to see how much money you have left over for savings or investing every month. And I think you'll be able to make a qualified decision on if you're capable of taking on more debt and also to what extent you're able to take on more debt. Here's another example of good debt when it comes to real estate. Imagine you're going to borrow money to buy a house and that mortgage is going to be $1,800 a month. But you know you can rent that property out for $2,000 a month. Then you have a $200 profit every month because you take $2,000 minus $1,800 and then you have a $200 profit. So it makes sense depending on your investment requirements and how much return you're looking for. If you're looking to just break even, making $200 is great. If you are needing to make more than $200, it might not be the right investment for you at this time. Hopefully from the examples I've given you, you can add on to your understanding of the language of money and hopefully realize that not all debt is bad debt. Debt can definitely be detrimental if not used correctly or if you over leverage yourself. But like anything else with investing, you're going to have to take on risk to get the reward. Just make sure you do as much research as you can, get advice from other people, and also understand your own financial position and if you're able to take on extra risk at the moment. If you have any more questions about investing and analyzing investment properties, please comment down below or message me on Instagram. I'll put my handle somewhere in the description. And if you found any value out of this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.